Hey, Spirit Club. Thanks for tuning in again and for another guest episode. I'm really having fun with these. And this one is my first guest of someone who I haven't met before. So today I want you to welcome with me Anna of Anna Rising. She is a professional intuitive and she specializes in soul contracts, which you're probably like, what is that? It is kind of like it sounds, but we are going to get into the details of that. But first, welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much for having me, Angel. I'm so excited to talk about this. This is my passion. This is my baby. I
And
could talk about this forever.
I see that because you guys, I was blessed to get a soul contract reading from Anna, and just all the information she shares and how, like, I can see for you how like you're creating connections whilst you're doing it, and so I can see that it's like kind of like in your blood in that way, if that makes sense.
It's been flowing. It's just I don't know exactly how. It kind of feels like I've been put into the back seat and something else is just taking over and getting me to where I need to be.
I love that sound. That sounds wonderful. I want to get in the back seat. That sounds great. Okay. Okay, well, we're going to start with my routine guest questions. So starting with, what are your big three in astrology?
My big three is Gemini Sun, Virgo Moon, and Virgo Rising. So a lot of Virgo energy on the inside. And then the
Double
Gemini kind
Virgo.
of goes and makes a mess of it.
And Anna, aren't those, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't both of those ruled by Mercury? Do you know?
I think they are. I remember Gabby telling me something that I'm very Mercury ruled, very air ruled, a lot of air going on.
Mm. That's crazy
I
having all that
think.
Mercury, which is like communicating and stuff. So, um, and double Virgo, okay. That is some real, like, people must, I mean, I know we don't love our 9 to 5 jobs, but whoever hires you must love having you because people who have Virgo energy are like, I don't know, they're just like such good workers and have such attention to detail.
Yeah, definitely love the lists, love being organized. It's just easier
Mhm.
to have a system.
Love the lists. Love the lists. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, my double Virgo. Okay, what does your morning routine look like?
My morning routine is pretty much getting the kids up and ready for school, sending two of them over to the bus stop, and then coming back home and making myself a cup of coffee and really enjoying that cup of coffee and kind of letting myself wake up after the bustle of the morning.
Mm.
And then I take my littlest one and go to the gym and I like to go to the sauna after my workout, and it's in the sauna that um, I do kind of like my energetic cleanse. Like I do meditations to protect myself for the day and to cleanse myself of all of the energy that doesn't serve me anymore. And that's kind of the morning for me. By the time I get home, it's like lunchtime already.
Yeah, yeah, I can see how all that would add up quickly, but a sauna every day,
Mhm.
good for you. That's goals. That's goals.
I don't know, it just gives me goosebumps every time I'm in there. It feels like a release of energy and just everything that the body's holding in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I really like them. I try to do them a couple times a week. Um, and they're like, to me, they're like work a little bit, like a workout. You got to like push through your heart rate rising
Mhm.
and all the sweating, but you do feel so good after. So good.
Afterwards, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So this podcast is all about doing the inner work. And so I would love to hear any of your teachers, mentors, or coaches that have had an impact on your own personal growth.
I would say that Phil Good of Phil Good Life
Hmm.
on Instagram had the biggest impact on me. I feel like he was the first intuitive that I came across, and the messages that he started sharing, I feel like it was like at least 7 years ago. The messages that he was sharing just felt so different than regular like psychic messages. Like it was so authentic. He was so authentically himself, and he was saying things that like nobody really wanted to hear. And I feel like that's how you know when spirit is talking to you, when you don't really want to like you want to hear that everything's going to be okay, that you're going to be successful, that you're going to get married soon or like get engaged soon. But his messages had a lot to do with inner work, shadow work,
Mm,
and reprogramming yourself.
mm,
And he kind of I like did a couple of intuitive readings with him, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so crazy." I think he kind of jump started me on intuitive work because I'm like, I have no idea how he accesses these things that he had no way of knowing unless he was actually intuitive and actually was working in the astral realm and reading people. So, he was like the OG for me.
mm.
I
I've,
still follow him. I still love him
I've
so
never
much.
heard of him. I'm so excited to check him out. It actually sounds like, I mean, it sounds like a lot of the kinds of readings that I do. Like my readings generally go towards some sort of healing or work. And
The
so
nitty
I would love
yeah,
to
the
go,
nitty-gritty.
I would love to go hear what he has to share. I will join his community.
Yeah, and from
Um,
there, I feel like I think it was from Organic Olivia that I found Nikki Novo, and Nikki Novo, I have no idea how I got, like, on her newsletter, but she came out with, like, a few emails talking about the soul reading method, and I think the second or third email I got, like, she was like, "If you were looking for your sign to, like, sign up for this, this is it." And I'm like, "Oh my God." Like, it was 5 minutes before that I randomly thought about this program, and then I received this email, and I'm like, "Okay, this is the sign that I was asking for." And I ended up signing up for it, and I just it was such a huge risk for me. Like, I basically put all of my apples in one in what do you call eggs in one basket, right?
Right.
With Nikki's course because I was just so sure that this is what I've been searching for. It felt like she had put everything, all of the things that I've been reading into, looking up for the past 5, 6 years into one program. And I was like, I can't not take this course. And
Yeah.
like there was one point, I think it was like the last month that we were doing soul reading method, like my card actually bounced because like my payment actually bounced because I didn't get my paycheck yet. So I was very much literally all into this and I was so confident that this was going to change my life and it very much did. It very much launched me into a completely different world. Like I wasn't able to access like Akashic records before Nikki Novo's course. Like I would try to do like the meditations you see on YouTube, like access your past lives, access your like Akashic records, and there was just this block. But as soon as Nikki taught us how to do that, that just came online for me. So Nikki was
Oh,
just totally life changing.
yeah. I mean, same, same. I will shout her praises till the day I die. And but there was something about your story there that like I don't know, gave me goosebumps. Just the way you put it about how big of a risk it was for you. Because that's not what it is for everyone. You know, the experience is different for everyone, obviously, but the way that you are willing to like go all in on yourself like that was makes me tear up. It's very, very beautiful.
I feel like the universe was setting me up for that. It was preparing me for that. It wasn't the first time I had to do that. That year, I had to take a lot of risks, and a lot of them paid off. It's like that was the year that I left my 10-year marriage, my marriage of 10 years, and that was something that was very, very difficult, like a gigantic step that I never saw myself taking. Um, and I don't, it was like, it started with a little thing. I guess I'm going to start into this story now, into the like motivation behind this now. But I think it was like 2022 when I read Matthew McConaughey's autobiography. I think it
Hmm.
was called Green Lights, and it's a great book. I absolutely loved his story. His biography is so unique, and the thing that grabbed me the most about it was how how much he kind of just flowed with life. He was in complete flow with life. He wasn't really stressing about anything or worried about anything, and he kind of took things as they come. And upon finishing that book, I realized how little say I had in my life and how little like presence I had in it. I was kind of just I was flowing, but not in a flow of like doing the things that that I wanted to do, and more of a flow of like letting somebody else like carry me along.
Right. It's like instead
So,
of being in your own flow, you were in someone else's flow.
yeah, I was letting somebody else make all my decisions for me, tell me what I can or can't listen to, like just completely not present in my body. I feel like I had just completely shut off from my soul and my being. And then like it was his book that started motivating me to do things scared. Like I started doing even the tiniest things, things that would give me so much anxiety. Like I could never imagine going to the gym and working out in front of people. That gave me so much anxiety. And I'm like, you know what?
Um,
I'm just going to go and do this scared anyway. So I remember the first time I walked into a gym and the first time like I started working out, it was absolutely terrifying. But then that kind of little step helped me really change my life.
yeah.
It completely changed my routine, the way I felt about myself, the way I approached things in life, and it led me all the way to Nikki Novo's course.
And it's like that, like what I'm hearing is like it's almost that like muscle building. Essentially like you
Yeah.
start by doing something that's like seemingly small, like go to the gym and work out in front of everyone. Now you're like, okay, prove to myself I could do that and here are the results I got from it.
Yes.
And now it's like
Yes,
bigger
it's
risk.
definitely that.
Yeah. And
Proving it to yourself and trusting yourself, learning to trust yourself and trusting your intuition and trusting that nobody knows what's best for you better than you do.
preach, sister. Preach. Amazing. Okay, so that okay. So we're just going to jump down. That's your story of is okay. So that's your story of how you found Nikki. But as far as how you got into soul contracts in particular, because that's a very like precise thing that you're doing. Um, how did you get into that particular line of work?
So it was a few months after soul reading method. I was trying to do soul reading. I was trying to find my niche. Nikki would talk about finding your niche often, and I came across this one Russian lady that did soul contracts, and I've never heard of such a thing, but it seemed like she had a lot of followers. It seemed like a lot of Russian people knew about this system, so I hopped on and I bought my soul contract, and then I bought like I started like reading through mine. It was all in Russian and I had to translate it for myself because I read better in English. Um and then once I've read that, I'm like, I need to take this course. There was a course on it. I'm like, I need to get on this because
Mhm.
this is what I've been looking for. I remember like at the start of my spiritual awakening, I was so hoping to have some kind of like to find a meditation that would like tell me what my soul purpose is, like give me an idea of where my life is supposed to go or where what I'm supposed to do with it. And I'm like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And I had no idea that somebody can put it into like text form
Mhm,
where you
mhm,
can like see it all laid out.
mhm.
And it just completely blew my mind. So I started posting on my Instagram, like, guys, I joined this course and now I'm like translating everything that I'm reading, and it's absolutely insane. And everybody started like asking me, "Oh my God, what is that? What's going on? Like, this is amazing. Where are you getting this information?" And I'm like, I think there's something here, and I need to delve into that. So that's how I started doing soul contract readings. And I think Gabby and Nicole were my first clients. I love them so much.
Oh,
I think they were my first, and their contracts were were very, very unique. I still have yet to come across a contract that was as unique as theirs. They carry very, very heavy karma, and it was energetically, it was difficult to have those contracts be the first contracts that I did, but I felt like it built up my tolerance, if that makes sense,
yeah.
for the
Yeah.
next contracts.
Right. And so when you found this modality, was it kind of that feeling like I've experienced it many times on this spiritual path where it's like almost like an unlocking, like almost like a key has gone in and you're like, oh,
Yes.
something inside of me just unlocked because I'm supposed to
Yes.
be whatever this thing is, or I've known this before.
Yes, I was so excited. I was so excited, and I knew that there was something there because people tell you that you should find what you would do for free, right? And you should do that for a living. And I'm like, I could read soul contracts all day for people. Like this really cracked my heart open, I think, mostly, like doing this work because you see people on such a almost cellular level, except
Mhm,
like it's their souls.
mhm,
And it's just so intrinsically beautiful. It's
mm,
okay. It's
mm.
I'm trying to find something to compare it to, and it's like somebody gave you a microscope and like you're looking into the grass underneath you, and there's an entire ecosystem there. And that's what this feels like to me,
Right. Yes. I just want to
discovering that
say
ecosystem.
that's a really beautiful analogy. And I would say I feel the same when I read people is this like, you just get to see this like super beautiful, pure essence of someone. And you're like,
Yes.
what a gift. Um, okay. So let's break this down for the listeners. So you have the soul matrix modality, which is what you're
Hmm.
using, and
Hmm.
then we have like soul contracts as a concept because that I mean that falls under a modality, but soul contracts are like a larger concept. So first, can you start by telling us like what is a soul contract?
A soul contract is what you agreed to accomplish in this lifetime before incarnating with your soul family, with your spirit guides. We all set out to learn certain things in our lifetime when we incarnate, and we agree to it. So if what I love most about that concept is that nothing really happens to us
Hmm.
if we go through really traumatic things. We agreed to experience this in order to evolve, in order to learn the lessons that we need to learn as souls. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it's too traumatic and the soul will be like, okay, I can't do this in this lifetime. I'm going to have to go back another lifetime and try and sort it out then.
And that
Um,
is that what you would call karma?
I think so. I think that's a great way of putting what karma is,
Mhm. Okay.
because it's not it's not inherently like good or bad karma. Like some people say that you shouldn't say that something is good karma or bad karma. It's just you're accumulating something that you're going to need to process later on.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, so that everyone's listening, we all agreed to exactly what we're living right now. But there is the free will piece, right? So like,
Yes.
you as a soul came down and you agreed to it, but then you living this life, maybe exercising free will to not learn the lesson or to like kick the ball down the road and learning the lesson and then you just like keep living it in your human life, right?
Yes.
I see a lot of
Very much so.
it. And I've lived that too. I mean, who hasn't? Um Okay, and so then the modality, can you explain to us the soul matrix modality?
The modality is unlike anything that I've seen. Like I was looking into like where this was coming from. I was trying to find the original person that came up with this. And I forget her name, but the original Russian lady that came up with this, she called it something else, and then it kind of snowballed into what it is now. But essentially, what she came up with was a combination of numerology, tarology, and Jewish mysticism. So if you've ever seen the Star of David, the Jewish stars, where they have Jewish symbols, they calculate the soul contracts by the person's birth name instead of their date of birth.
Mm.
And this modality, the soul matrix, or in Russian, it's called Destiny Matrix, I believe, or the one I'm interpreting at least.
I was hoping you were gonna say it in Russian, okay.
In Russian. Oh my gosh.
No pressure. I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were Russian. I didn't know all this." So I'm like, it's
I
very
speak
cool that you
Russian. I'm
can.
I'm able to read it, but at this point it's like it's my second language. Like English is my first language because I've been here since I was 3.
Okay.
Um oh man, I,
Oh,
I
no,
can't think of it right now.
carry on. Anyway, carry on what it is.
Um, so yeah, so this lady came up with a system of using your date of birth and putting it into this chart and putting your month, your day of birth, and then your year, adding up the numbers, and then keep like doing that continuously throughout your chart, adding up different numbers to then get all of these numbers that have, when put together, their own meaning. So each program like has 3 numbers. When they're set up in a consecutive way, they mean a certain thing. And I don't know if you were able to see some of the tarot influencing there, but there's tarot influencing because a lot of them, let's see, with talents, they have the number in talents goes by the major arcana in tarot.
Oh, cool.
So I feel like I feel like it's a very intuitive system as well as a very like numerical system
Yeah, like
because
very
everybody
mathematical.
interprets, yeah, everybody interprets tarot differently. And there was a couple of things that I think I talked with Gabby and Nicole about on their podcast that I was like, I don't know if I would put it into like interpret it the way that they were interpreting it.
Hmm.
Uh, specifically gender roles, and specifically uh, like they would say that you need to have a family established by this and this age, and like have kids by this and this age, and that your set goal, like your end goal, was to have a family.
Hmm.
And I don't believe that at all, especially because throughout the contracts, what I've learned the most, I'm sorry if I'm rambling, what I've learned the most is that nothing is very black and white, and everybody is so different and has their own unique path. So you can't say that everybody has to do this and this. Like it's not as cookie cutter as that.
Right.
So I wasn't putting that into my soul contracts. That was one of the things that I kind of left out. I'm like that doesn't
Doesn't.
vibe with
Yeah.
me,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
if that
making
makes
it
sense.
you're making it your own, which like, these are like tools, and then we have we have our gifts to infuse into them. So, on that note, you're obviously very intuitive. So, how do you personally weave in intuition?
I feel like that happened by accident. Um, I I did like when I was starting out to do the soul contracts, I started with the intention of making the Zoom calls, like going over the soul contract and like answering any questions that the person had. But what ended up happening is I just started receiving messages for them because one way or the other, I think people started asking me questions about it, and I started getting intuitive downloads for them. And I'm like, okay, like I can elaborate so much more on the contracts getting these intuitive messages and like really helping them solidify the direction that they're meant to go, that in a way that I didn't expect. So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, this works out even better, you know, because now you kind of have the map and now you can guide the person how to get to where they're going. Like how to get to where they want to go.
Right. Yes. And I imagine too, having received the soul contract that you prepared for me, I imagine too that like based on the time of your life that you're receiving it, for example, there are like different messages in there for you. Like I think about in my particular contract, and don't worry guys, we're going to talk a little bit about those details. I think about in mine, I think about me 10 years ago having received that. It would have been a very different experience than me now. And therefore, like as the reader, I imagine that's like the intuition is speaking to like what do they need to know and hear now at this time that they're receiving this contract.
Yes, because like we kind of spoke on, soul contracts are made at birth. So this is like starting from birth, these are the lessons that you need to learn.
Right.
And especially with intuitives, you're going to find that they cleared a lot of the stuff that they were meant to clear because they're operating on, I don't want to say a higher vibration because that sounds,
Sounds hierarchical.
I don't know. Yeah. They're just more aware of the programs within society and they're able to clear it and kind of make their own way.
Yeah, like what I would say is, if you if you're working with intuition and you haven't worked on your own stuff, then your message, the intuitive messages will be foggy because they're going to be like ridden with your wounds and your
And your
fears
ego.
and your
Mhm.
ego. So it's like it's pretty hard. Like I know some people who are naturally intuitive and always have been, but like without the healed piece, like it's very hard for them to access that. And that's all that is, I think.
And maybe that's why I came into it when I did, because I was just cracked open. Like I think I'm still in my Saturn return, but I think I was like right in the middle of it when it came into my life. And I was just cracked open and I'm like, I don't know anything anymore. I'm like, I have no idea.
That's
I was just completely open and I'm like, just let me know what I need to do, universe, and I'll just do it.
and you did. And you did. Good for you. Okay, so everyone, Anna gave me a soul contract reading, and we thought we would share parts of it on this episode so you could get a taste of what's included. Um, and also, I get to receive a reading, which is super fun for me. Um, so I don't know how you want to go about this. Like, are there obviously we don't have all the time in the world to go through a full reading, but are there certain things that you would highlight for me off the bat?
I would highlight off of the bat the millionaire program. So I talked about it on my page quite a lot. I talk about it a lot because I looked for it in celeb contracts. Like I was specifically looking for it because I'm like, okay, this is the program that like guarantees that a person is going to be successful or something of the sort. So I was actively looking for it in celeb programs and it does not pop up often at all. So when I see it pop up in intuitives, I'm like, okay, it's very powerful because it's one of those that you don't see in every chart. That and the gift of Midas, I would say, are the luckiest programs to have, um, because those are like specifically the ones that mean financial blessings of some sort.
Okay.
So it essentially means that at some point in your life, you're either going to come into a lot of money through inheritance, business, or luck.
Wow. Okay. And just to clear up for me and everyone listening, when you say program, what do you mean?
So it's a part. it's a part of the agreements that we make. It's a part of the karma that we have to clear. And this program specifically, if when you look at like the last sentence of it, it says that it's only given to those that really deserve it. So you must have done something really, really kind in a previous life where karma is kind of like paying you back in this lifetime. So when we're talking about programs, we're talking about things that you have come to learn in this lifetime, things that you have come to experience or clear if necessary. So not all of these programs are like you're going to be successful, you're going to inherit a lot of money. A lot of them are very, very heavy, and they carry lessons within them that if we do not learn in this lifetime, they're going to carry over to our next.
Okay. Okay. That makes total sense. Okay. So, are there any other programs that you would want to highlight from my contract?
Um, I've noticed that whenever the soul contracts talk about gifts, you should never like or talents, you should never like take it with a grain of salt. Like you should pay special attention to them because every time, every time I've had a chart where it said like somebody had healing hands or their visions came through dreams, my clients would always be like, "Oh my gosh, like I've had this gift. Like everybody has always told me that I have healing hands. Like if I massage somebody or like touch somebody, like they instantly feel better if they're having some kind of like shoulder pain or whatever." So I would pay very close attention. I believe there were some things in your chart that I highlighted. Um, so in your ancestors talent, the ancestors talent means that you have a very special connection to your lineage, a very special
Hmm.
connection to your ancestors. If you don't already try and connect to them, you should definitely do that. Um, so it says that you should practice dream work and clairvoyance because you have the power to heal many generational curses and wounds. And that's what the ancestor talent is about. It's about clearing and breaking generational cycles that have kept repeating over and over again.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can feel that even like within this lifetime, just sort of not choosing to believe the things that we, let's say my lineage or my family unit or we as society have just accepted as true, you know? Um, very interesting about the dream work. Clairvoyance, clairvoyance is probably my strongest no, claircognizance is probably my strongest but clairvoyance I also work with. So I will have to really pay attention to that. But the dream work is interesting because I haven't done a lot in it, but I do. I do sometimes astral travel in dreams, and I know I'm doing it. I did it last night, which is wild because I haven't done it in a while. And I astral traveled with my dog last night. It was wild.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I will do.
How do you know when you're astral traveling?
Yeah. I know. I was trying to put that into words for Shane this morning. I was like, how do I know? Dreams, I don't feel very conscious in. Whereas when I'm astral traveling, I feel pretty conscious, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And then all of the feelings of it, like that I'm experiencing through my senses, feel like stronger and more real. And then I almost always fly when I astral travel. And I like have a
Wow.
visceral feeling of what flying feels like. Like I know how to fly. I do. I can fly. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, maybe there's something there for me to dive into. And thank you for that little push.
Yeah, I wondered why I landed on that particular part of your chart.
Okay, how about are there any flags or lessons that you saw like, oh, she should be careful of in my soul contract?
So right now, I'm trying to. I don't know if you saw my page. I started doing this thing called the Xbox, where I am trying to. I'm having my followers like drop their exes or partners' date of birth because I'm trying to see um, their soul contracts and how that's manifesting in their relationships for them. And specifically, I was trying to find what programs pop up in narcissistic people.
Hmm,
Um,
interesting.
but that's not about your chart. But you started talking about red flags program wise. So there are a few red flags with programs that I was like, this is not good. But they're not in your chart. Your chart felt so light.
Hmm,
It felt like I told you it felt like a breath of fresh air.
hmm,
Um, they feel very easy to clear,
hmm,
I want to say. Like not inherently like super karmic. I don't know of a better way to explain that, but I did notice like self-destruction tendencies. I believe I have that program as well.
hmm.
Um, I feel like I feel like you may have already cleared that, but it's when a person continuously puts themselves into situations where they kind of start digging their own hole. You know, like if there's like a tiny problem, they're going to go and make it bigger because of a certain like limiting belief about themselves, like a
Mhm.
feeling of unworthiness, a feeling of not being lovable or something like that. So that's a pretty painful program. And the binge program, um, I want to mention that all of them have positive and negative manifestations, just like the programs that are huge red flags. Um, they have positive manifestations as well.
Right.
And what's interesting about that is the positive manifestations are so positive,
Right.
but the negative manifestations are so negative. Like they're so toxic. Um, so I feel like the programs in your chart are kind of more neutral
Mhm, mhm.
compared to that, if that makes sense.
Great.
So I want to say like if a person ever has the hard programs, the more difficult programs, they shouldn't feel discouraged because um, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a very toxic person. Like it could be in the positive manifestation.
Right.
Um, the person just has this capacity for it to turn as toxic
Right.
as that.
Right. Like there's a
And
shadow and a
that's
light
every
side to everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
shadow and light component, yin and yang component. Um, and everybody has that choice. Everybody has the choice to operate from the positive or the negative. And the thing that I like most about this system is that it doesn't just tell you, okay, here's the positive and here's the negative. It also gives you recommendations on how to work through that.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
specifically for self-destruction, I'm not sure why I'm pinpointing that again. Um, but it talks about how important it is to accept help from loved ones and those that are close to you. Um, self-destruction, the cycle of self-destruction has to come to a close. Like you kind of have to let the person implode on themselves in order to be able to work through it.
Mm.
And with self-destruction, you either are experiencing it personally or it's happening to somebody close to you. So if you're ever like in a position where there's a person that's imploding on themselves and you really want to help them, you really need to let them ride it out and let them hit their version of rock bottom in order for them to be like, okay, maybe I'm the problem. Like
Mhm.
maybe this is happening because I feel like we all have that moment of being like, okay, I am responsible, probably completely responsible for what's happening in my life, and something has to change.
Yeah. I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm like, well, I can tell you one way that I'm self-destructing and imploding on myself, and it is as a workaholic. So, and that came up a lot. That came out a lot in my chart.
That
Too.
came up
Like,
on your chart, yes.
tendency to be a workaholic. I was like, damn, I know. It's a sickness. Um, okay, I would love to talk about the karma part. Is that on every chart?
Yes,
Okay. Maybe
yes.
explain to everybody what it is, and then if we could talk about mine, I would love to.
Are you talking specifically about the past lives?
Yeah.
Yes. So past lives, um, there's some that I see quite often, and the way that the past lives are presented, they're spoken in very broad terms. So they're not exactly like giving you, oh, like you were this in this profession, in this time. They're very broad, and they give you a sense of the role that you had, and if you had, like, if you were suffering, or if you were in a person, like if you were in a position of power. And they give you a sense of what what needed to be healed in that lifetime and how it's repeating in this lifetime. And when I saw your past life, I'm like, yes. I get excited whenever I see a new one because I get to add it to my interpretation, right? I get to add it to my translation. And I was really excited about yours because it feels so, it's not traumatic. It's, I'm looking for the right word. It's like, here it is, I found it. I can't find it. It's like it's beautiful in its tragicness. There it is,
Mhm.
tragic. It feels tragic because your past life, it felt like you had the intention of helping others. You had every intention of trying to do the right thing and put something out there in the world that could benefit people. But what ended up happening is either people around you, your immediate surroundings, kind of overtook that, like they took control of it and they turned it into something um, very sinister, very malevolent, or your work just spiraled out of control, not at your doing, and it made you absolutely terrified to to pursue something like that again. And from the sounds of it, in your past life, you also led a very, very spiritual life. You had knowledge that wasn't available to everybody. When I was reading your past life, I started getting like glimpses of what this could be because it felt so, I didn't like really understand it. I'm like, I don't really know what's going on here. So let me try to look into it. And I saw that you were somebody that either practiced magic or you worked with herbs in some way. And I think this was around the time the witch trials happened, that you weren't the fall guy, but like it, I saw a group of people kind of surround you and they were asking you questions and you were trying not to give a certain group of people away. But what ended up happening is they got that information out of you and they went after these people. And I felt like it caused their death or at least imprisonment. And then you felt so guilty that you carried that pain into this lifetime. And that may like come in the form of you kind of trying to stay away from things spiritual, trying to stay away from things that um, aren't like tangible, what you can see, touch, and feel. And that was kind of how your chart started off. Your chart started off as somebody that was very, very practical, very logical, very into the ideals of the white picket fence and the American dream and working the 9 to 5, having everything, and then I'm like, this like her current life is so far from that. Like it's it's kind of branched out from that
Mhm, mhm. Yes.
so
Okay. I just
much.
want to comment a few things there. First of all, I want to say that, yes, what Anna is describing, when I first read the beginning of the chart and it was describing me as like someone who wants to follow the rules and do everything like traditionally, I was like, huh? Who's that? I was like, this isn't me. And then I remembered, guys, that that was me. I used to dream, I used to go to bed daydreaming. This makes me laugh to say out loud. I used to go to bed daydreaming about getting a geology job downtown and working 9 to 5. I thought that was, oh my, I thought
The
that was
life.
everything. It's so funny to me now. Um, but yeah, I definitely, things shifted during my Saturn return, and now I barely remember that girl. But a lot of the contract, a lot of the healings in the contract I see, they've happened, since my Saturn return. And so a lot of it, I feel like when I read it, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's what I'm doing. Okay, great, cool. I'm doing that. I did that. That feels good. But the past life, and thank you for sharing the details of that. When I read it, yeah, I was immediately taken to like witch hunt feelings and am in this lifetime, um, during a certain period of time a few years ago, I really felt like that same witch hunt feeling was going on. And I felt like really scared and uncomfortable and shut down from it. And reading that in the contract just made me make the connection of like that it's coming from, it's triggering old wounds from past life. And but from
Mhm.
what I understand, like the sort of takeaway from, or the karma, correct me if I'm wrong, that I am to be clearing in this lifetime is um the fear of sharing whatever knowledge it is that I have to share, like that I have to share it in this lifetime. Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
100%. And I was so happy when I read that because I'm like, I think she's already doing that. Like she didn't need to be told this. But it's kind of opening yourself up from that block where you're afraid to um, dive into these things because you're afraid of people getting hurt because in your past experience, uh, when you associate yourself with a certain thing, other people get hurt. So you kind of blocked yourself off from that. And that blocks off spiritual gifts, that blocks off intuition. So you've obviously cleared that. And Saturn has a way of helping people do that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. And I probably have more, I'm sure there will be more layers, like deeper layers. Like this podcast is my biggest step towards using my voice and sharing teachings and sacred knowledge. Um, but I have the awareness that there will be deeper lessons, and there will probably come a time where I need to talk about something that is like maybe polarizing, or that like
Oh my God. Yes.
like I'm talking about light and love. It's not very polarizing, like we're okay right
Hmm.
now, but I'm sure there will come a day where where I need to do that, and that's very scary to me. So I will do the work behind it.
You'll build your way up to that.
Yeah, I'll be able
I
to.
completely I feel that very strongly. And you're 100% right. It's um these kind of wounds have a tendency of popping up every now and then. I feel like every time I feel like I've healed something, it pops up like tenfold or in another major way. And I'm like, oh, I thought I cleared this. Like, what's going on with me?
I know, it's almost like a joke. Like you're like, what? I worked on this for years. What is this? But
Yeah.
yeah,
And then here you are getting as triggered as ever.
yeah. You're like, it's a new layer, new level, new
Mhm.
devil. Anyway, thank you so much for sharing these parts of my chart and my contract. I hope the listeners enjoyed that, getting to know me, and but also just the process and what's involved in a contract. Because, like, I mean, the minute I even like looked at your content, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to have this. I need to know. So I'm sure a lot of listeners will be
Mhm.
feeling the same way. Um,
It's
okay,
I have to
before
say it's
we,
very high vibrational, like, there's really heavy past lives, and yours felt so pure. I wanna say it just felt so pure, like, almost angelic because, you had every intention like, you were trying so hard to do the right thing, and then it just got blown out of proportion, and the tragic was the word that I was trying to find. It was tragic, but it was like, poor Angel.
well, thank you. And well, I suppose there's a reason that I got blessed with the name that I got blessed with. So,
Mhm.
and I got blessed with a great contract. So, thank you, God. Thank you, Soul, for choosing this contract. And I'll keep you posted on the millionaire program. We're not there yet, but I feel that.
Yes, please.
I feel that. Okay, so one more thing that I would love to know about soul contracts, because now you have read so many of them. Um, what is something that has surprised you?
I think something that surprised me is how uninvolved you should be in other people's lives, and that sounds bad as I'm saying it, but what I mean is, um, oftentimes you'll see somebody going through something and you're going to want to help them, get out of a tough situation, and I'm not saying that you're not supposed to help people, but you have to choose so very, very carefully if you do wanna help them out because a lot of time karma is happening, and they're supposed to process what they're going through. They're supposed to get to a certain point in their life where they have an aha moment, and whenever you kind of stop that from happening, that gets taken away from them. So what
Mm,
immediately came to mind is like the mother that's overly helpful, kind of helicopter mom, and she sees that her child is struggling. So she's like, I'm going to help you out. Like, you can come live with me for a while. I'm not saying that you can't move back in with your parents, but it's like people need to learn from their mistakes and they need to learn from what they go through. And it's
mhm,
very, very
mhm.
important not to impede on that, especially
Right.
especially when you give people advice. Uh,
Mm.
like I've had friends that were in really bad relationships, and I was always a friend that was like, "You need to run, you need to go, girl, you need to cut your losses, and you need to get out of there." And I've learned that that is not ethical. It's not it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
ethical. You have to really kind of let that person get there on their own. And I feel like as psychics and intuitives, when we're working with people, that's also something that's important to do. You have to ask the questions that will help a person get to the conclusion that they need to get to. And
Right.
I had a really good friend that witnessed my horrible first marriage. Not for I'm saying first marriage because I'm engaged now, so I'm gonna have a second marriage soon.
Well,
Oh, sweet.
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm like, I'm on my second marriage, but not really, not yet. Um, my toxic marriage of 10 years, I had a really, really good friend that no matter how bad it got, like, she never said, like, "You should leave him," like, "You need to get out of there." She was just a friend that let me cry on her shoulder and let me tough it out. Like, if I ever needed a place to stay, like, she's like, "I got you. You can come over.
Mhm.
Like, we can have a movie night. Like, you'll be fine." And I never realized how ethical that was and how amazing that was on her part. So that kind of really threw me off because like I feel like I'm always the person that like, no, we have to fix this. Like, let's go in and like
Mhm.
fix problems that aren't really our own.
Right.
Um, so that was kind of like, oh, okay, that's not a good thing to do.
I think there are probably people listening who needed to hear that. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And, to your story, like, I've always been the friend, like my whole life, that everyone comes to for advice.
That's in
And
your
at
chart.
some I think it said natural born psychologist in there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and at one point or another, I realized it didn't matter what I said. They're going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And if I did say something, it just made things more uncomfortable for us,
Yes.
particularly if we're talking about the example of like marrying someone. If I had a lot of people who'd be like, I just want your advice, exactly what you think. And I would say it. And then, of course, they would do what they're going to do. And then I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I said it. Now we got to be friends.
Yeah.
I got to be
Now
friends
you
with your husband,
gotta
whatever.
act like you didn't talk badly
Yeah.
about their boyfriend or their husband.
Yeah. So eventually I was like, oh, there's no point. There is
Yeah.
no point. And to your the point that you're trying to make is like they need to go on their journey. That's what they need to do. So how do I just like support them, support their journey, whatever their journey looks like? It's not up to me. And so thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure we all can think of some example of that in our own lives.
Yeah. The intention is
Okay.
well-meaning, but
Right, of course. Right.
the result not so much.
Okay, Anna, it has been wonderful talking to you and getting to know you. It's so fun. You're my first guest that I've never met before. So it was really
Hopefully that
engaging
will
talking.
change. I really hope one day we can have like a massive SRM meetup or something somewhere. And Nikki
Yes,
should definitely host that. That would be so
totally. And
awesome.
where in the world are you?
I'm in Maryland. I'm on the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maryland. Is that near Baltimore?
Baltimore is in Maryland, so it's a little below New York.
Okay. Okay. Got it. My brother lived in Baltimore for a few years, so I happened to go over there because I'm up here in Canada. But yeah, I'll be honest, I am bad at the states. I don't know
You're
them
in
super
Canada,
well.
so that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so everyone's gotten a little taste of the soul contract. So do you want to just share with the listeners what are the services that you offer?
So my services are primarily focused around soul contracts at this point. Um, you can purchase the soul contract PDF, just the contract in and of itself. You can purchase the PDF and a walkthrough. There's also a year ahead report that we can do based on your soul contract, because every year has its own numerological like number for you that it's associated with. So there's that. I've actually been looking into like celeb deaths, like when they died and
Oh
the numerological like numbers that they had,
God.
the year that they passed away, if it was like if they died before their time. So I'm like looking into that to see if there's any patterns
Mhm.
along with that. That's the like Virgo side of me. I have this chart and
Oh
everything.
yeah. I was like, this entire thing is meeting all of your Virgo needs, which is perfect. I mean, it's
It
exactly what it's meant to
is.
do.
It is. I also do spirit baby readings, and that's a whole story in and of itself. But let's see. There's also
And just
parent.
for those listening, when you say spirit baby readings, are you like, is that solely an intuitive reading, or are you using your tool,
That's
your soulmate?
solely an intuitive reading. It's not based on the soul contracts, but there is a parent-child relationship segment in the soul contracts. It's based off of the soul contracts, just like the year ahead. Sorry, the year ahead is based on the soul contracts as well.
Got it. Okay. Okay, amazing. Well, probably everyone listening, you should just start with a soul contract. There's a very solid foundation, and
There's so
go from
much
there.
there. Like you can just study it. I feel like your entire life, because it's one of those things that you only need what like you only need to get it one time. You print it out, and it's like a little map of your life
Mhm,
and of the
mhm.
lessons that you were meant to learn and what you were meant to to work through in this incarnation.
Everyone's going to love it. And I can't wait to get one for Shane because I'm like, I wonder if we both have the millionaire program.
Well, you have a program that kind of, exudes this kind of, like, financial energy to your partner. I
Oh,
don't know if you touched on that. I know it was a lot of reading, and I kinda sent it to you last minute.
right.
But when people are in a relationship with you, you kind of bless them because your energy is very, like, I forgot to ask you what your human design is, but it's very, like, generating. You have a very, very strong core energy, and it can rub off on other people. So,
Mm.
if even if he doesn't have it in his chart, he's gonna benefit from it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I did read that and I thought, because I think there's something intuitively Shane has always known that he's going to be a millionaire. And when I read that, I thought, oh, maybe this is why. Because, like, I'm blessing him with it. It's
I
me, Shane.
I
I'm
had
the millionaire.
I had a client that also has this talent of being able to kind of like bless her partner's life, and she said that when they got together, like his career just absolutely blew up. So I'm like, well, that's where that is coming from because and she said that she's seen that happen in each of her relationships where she gets into a relationship and all of a sudden things start going really well for the other person.
Fascinating. Oh
So
my
you are a
gosh.
blessing.
Oh, thank you. And you're a blessing. Thank you for this conversation and for connecting with me. And I'm really just happy to have been able to introduce you to my community. And I hope some of my friends get some soul contract readings so I can know all about their soul contracts because
So you
this is
guys can look
really
over
cool.
each other's contracts.
Right? How can you not? It's just, yeah, it's
Thank you so
addictive.
much for having me. Thank you for your time. It was an absolute pleasure to work with you and to look at your soul.
Oh, thank you, Anna. Anna Rising. It's so beautiful. And thanks everybody for joining us. And I hope you learned something. And go check out Anna of Anna Rising. Have a great night. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Did I do it? Did I stop it? Oh, no.